All right, so here's how we do number 1. The first thing you're going to want to do is find out what these points' coordinates are. So this is the point -5, 2, and this is the point 0, -5. So to write an equation, step 1 is to find the slope. So in this case, we have to use our slope formula. I'm going to put that work down here. So I could call this x1, y1, x2, y2. So I take my -5, that's y2, minus y1, over x2 minus x1. You get 3 over, remember to keep, change, change. So the slope is, whoops, a little mistake there in the numerator. -5 minus 2 is -7. We can see that in the graph as well. You go down 7 and over 5 for a rise over run. So that's my slope. M is -7 over 5. Step 2 is to find the y-intercept. Well, this one's easy. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. It's always the point when x is 0. So it is -5. So then for step 3, we just put those into the mx plus b equation. In place of m, we put -7/5. In place of b, we put -5. So the equation is y equals -7/5 x plus -5. Let's take a look at number 2. Don't get confused by this function notation. Remember, this just means, whoops, this just means the 2 points are an input of -4 with an output of -13, and an input of 0 with an output of -1. So again, I go through those same steps. Step 1, find your slope. -1 minus -13 over 0 minus -4. So we would get 12 over 4, doing a keep, change, change on both of these, which reduces to 3. Step 2, the y-intercept is again easy because we see we have an x-coordinate of 0, so the y-intercept is -1. Therefore, in step 3, the equation is y equals 3x plus -1. Now it gets a little more difficult when we go to number 3. On number 3, you'll find that step 2 is not quite so simple. Step 1 still works out the same. Find your slope. Second y-coordinate minus the first y-coordinate. The second x-coordinate minus the first. So we would get 14 over -14, which is a slope of -1. Now, for step 2, what we're going to do is we're going to write what we know in a y equals mx plus b equation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that answer from step 1 and I'm going to put it in for m. And then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to take and find a value to put in for x and y. And I get to pick either one of these points. I'm going to pick the one I circled there. So the y-coordinate of that is -10 and the x-coordinate is 7. So I replace y with -10, I replace x with 7, and I put parentheses around the 7 to remind me that it's m times x, or -1 times 7. So now I'm just going to simplify. -1 times 7 is -7, and then I add 7 to each side. So we end up with b equals negative 3. So finally, for step 3, I can write my equation, mx plus b. Since there's my equation. I was thinking this one was function notation, but it's not. I should actually go back and look at the second one. I probably should have written this one as f of x equals 3x plus negative 1. Number 4, when we have a line with undefined slope, that should tell you that it is a vertical line. So it's a vertical line that goes through the point 3, 1. What's the equation of that line? Well, if you look at all the points on this line, they all have the same x-coordinate. The x-coordinate of all of them is 3. So that's the equation. And finally, number 5. This is a problem where the equation is going to be best written in standard form because we have 2 rates in the problem, 2 rates of change, $5 a pound for shrimp and $2.50 a pound for halibut. And we have a total in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the 2 rates in for A and B and the total in for C. So I'm going to use, let's see, it says $5 for the number of pounds of shrimp. So I'm going to let S represent the number of pounds of shrimp. I add to that 250 times the number of pounds of halibut, and that should total $14. And I believe if you use the Y and X instead, so X represents the number of pounds of shrimp, Y represents the number of pounds of halibut. That's the equation you would get.